All right, everybody, here with my friend Gil Swenson, head coach at Montgomery, boys lacrosse coach. Met Gil last winter. Uh, we got to talking, and we're going to go over everything that Gil's doing with his business and his coaching and his philosophy and all that. But first thing, Gil, thanks for being with us.
Thank you for having me, Kyle. Appreciate the time. I had a good time with you on our little show we did with some coaches, and great to be back on yours too.
Yeah, man, thank you. So let's start out. Kind of just tell people where you're living. You're newly married, correct?
Yep.
And just kind of tell them what you're doing as far as coaching and your business, and then we'll dive more into the business stuff on the back end.
Mhm.
So just kind of give yourself a little introduction.
Yeah, for sure. My wife and I, we got married in October, so coming up on a year in a couple months. We've been living in Clinton. We just moved into Hunterdon County area. We're both from North Jersey and Morris County. We met at Rutgers back in 2014, I guess. And then so we met at Rutgers. I started out playing lacrosse and I don't know, first, second grade back in youth. Really just, it was a newer thing. I mean, it's still an up and coming sport, but it was a real new thing back then and just wanted to give it a shot. And playing, I've been involved every year since then as a player coach. And so that's been my life really. And I was recruited to go to, I was recruited to play in college and then had a tumor found in my bone in my hip. Going into my senior year, and then that was a year-long recovery pretty much, and then fortunately got an offer to go play at Hofstra after that was all done, and then right before starting there, found out both labrums were torn in my hips, and pretty much sent me back to square one, and just couldn't get back to where I was playing. I'm back healthy now in terms of living, but playing-wise, just couldn't get back to that, and thankful though that all happened and ended up going back to Rutgers to stay local and really enjoyed my time there. Met my wife obviously, so obviously things work out for a reason, and it was a downtime for me physically, but it really paid off in the end in a lot of different ways. So that's where we're at now, and we're enjoying the Hunterdon County area though for sure.
Did you guys go on a honeymoon?
We did, yeah. We went to Hawaii, so we're feel very fortunate now, especially with the COVID stuff, and we got married in October, got to go on the honeymoon, and we got some friends who are dealing with getting married or trying to get married right now, and it's we feel for them for sure. So we feel very lucky got to do all that right before this. So
Yeah, it's a blessing, man.
yeah.
Now you said you started lacrosse in second grade,
Yeah.
right? So yeah, it wasn't really as popular back then. How did you where did that come from? The idea to get into lacrosse? Who taught you? Where did that?
We had some fiddlesticks, like the little sticks growing up before that. We used to pick acorns up in our yard, actually. That was what we used them for. Played around, and then we were just helping mom and dad out, scoop some acorns up. And that was really the first thing we learned about it, I guess, was just kind of having them at home. And then I don't even think it was offered at that point. In like kindergarten, first grade, we couldn't even play in our town. So it never really crossed my mind to play until we got a town packet at home of sports coming up that spring, and lacrosse was on there. And I wasn't a big fan of baseball at the time. I was playing, but not really enjoying it. And then just like, well, why not give it a shot? And then I fell in love with it, and obviously been involved ever since. So that's how that started.
Cool, man. Did you play any other sports?
Yeah, growing up, started out with like baseball, basketball, soccer, and then dropped baseball in the like third or fourth grade. I was playing both for a little bit and just didn't enjoy it. Wasn't great at basketball, honestly, and did some wrestling camps here and there. Never really committed into that. Played soccer all the way up through eighth grade. Both my parents were big soccer players through high school. Very talented soccer players. My grandfather actually coached soccer, state championship coach at Livingston, and a Hall of Fame coach there. So that was kind of in my blood, but that was another one I didn't really enjoy. After like eighth grade, I ended up switching to football because all my buddies were playing football. So I figured I'd go out and play some football, and ended up being the kicker with my soccer background. So I did that all through high school, and then lacrosse was really my steady thing from second grade all the way through now. So dabbled with everything a little bit, but lacrosse was really the main thing for me.
And what you went to Montgomery High School?
No, I went to Randolph up in Morris County. So I went to Randolph. My wife went to West Morris Central up there. So we're North Jersey people.
County.
So
Very-
oddly enough, my last game playing competitive lacrosse really was at Montgomery High School for Randolph, and then first head coaching job was at Montgomery High School. So it's kind of funny.
So let's talk about that with the coaching. So
Yeah.
you out of college, what was the next step? Like, okay, you can't. What was your degree in?
Exercise science and sports studies, sport management focus. So it was not as much on the sports science or the exercise science side. It was more sport management, sport business, stuff like that. A little bit of exercise science, but not as much.
You came out, and what was your first instinct? Like, what were you planning to do for a career?
I was planning on coaching. I was dead set on I'm just going to coach lacrosse, and that was it. And might have been a little too focused on that, honestly. Not putting as much time or effort into my schoolwork sometimes if it didn't relate back to coaching in some way. But I started coaching really. I think my first coaching job at all was my sophomore year of high school, working with the youth kids. We had a summer camp in town that I would work at, even as a sophomore in high school, junior in high school, senior, working at that camp. And then I think my junior year of high school, the youth director gave me a job as an assistant coach, not job, volunteer spot as a assistant coach for the 5th grade team when I was a junior in high school. And then I stayed with that team as a senior. And then I was home for 2 years, going to community college while I was doing physical therapy and rehab for the hip stuff. So I was fortunate. He kept me on and let me take over as the head coach of the 7th grade team for a year, which was a big building block, stepping stone for me as a coach to really take that on. Even though it's 7th grade, it's still, head coaching spot. I took it very seriously, obviously, and used that as my foundation to wanting to coach, and stayed with that team. I moved to the high school the next year, working with the high school team in Randolph. And then I knew I wasn't going to be playing at Rutgers with the injuries, but I wanted to keep coaching. And an old coach of mine brought me to Hanover Park, so I moved out of Randolph. I wanted to try something different, get to a new spot. Went to Hanover Park for a year with him, and then ended up at West Essex High School for 2 years, and a little bit more of an expanded role there. All this was while I was at Rutgers. And then I kind of knew right after that, I was graduating that spring. And I said, I want to go coach college. I want to coach the highest level I can go. And was very fortunate to get a volunteer spot at St. Joseph's University in Philadelphia, Division I school. And that was a tremendous learning experience for me there. And I knew it was a 1-year deal going in, 1-year experience no matter what. And I made the most out of it. And those guys were awesome. The coaches there were amazing. Players there were amazing. I got a ton out of that experience. Realized I kind of want to stay in New Jersey, though. That was going to be, this is where I want to be. This is where I want to kind of lock down and stay. And college coaching doesn't really play into that with jumping around different jobs. If you want to move up, you're generally moving places and following the jobs around. And I didn't want to make my wife do that. I didn't want to do that myself. We both have family here, wanted to stay here. So I said, get back into high school coaching back in New Jersey. And I was fortunate to get the assistant job actually in Montgomery for a year. And then that moved to the head job the following year, which was 2019. And then, so it would have been my second year there this year. And obviously we only got about 6 days in, but so that brings us up to now, I guess. So.
Okay. So you had that vision, and I'm guessing you were inspired by your grandfather.
Yeah, he was definitely a big role model for me. And my father wasn't a coach necessarily at a high school or college level of any kind, but he was another one he coached me. No matter what we were doing, me and my brother, he was coaching us. And seeing him in that role, where it's not you're not making any money. You're not doing it for any other reason than for your kids, but just for the love of being out there. That was a big inspiration for me for getting to where I'm at now too. And having him and my grandfather to kind of bounce things off of. I remember talking to both of them, even when I'm junior, senior in high school, coaching little kids, and just asking them how they dealt with their certain situations, and having my dad from the youth coach perspective, dealing with those kids at the time. It's a much different animal. And then when I got to the high school level, talking with my grandpa a little bit more about how he dealt with certain situations. So that was definitely a big push for me, and a big drive for me to learn from those guys and have them behind me and really helping me out along the way. And I had a lot of great coaches growing up too, who I always go back to as well. And then, that really got me to where I'm at today.
I want to go back to the hips for a second. So you had a tumor. Did you have to have that? You had that removed?
Yeah, that was, it was a bone. It's called a unicameral bone cyst in my, like the ball of my hip, pretty much probably like, I don't know, this big on the inside, just all liquid of some kind. So fortunate it didn't break beforehand. They said it could have shattered really just on impact of running or anything. So I was fortunate that didn't happen. But they took that out, filled it with other bone and plate and screws and whatnot on the other side. So that was a pretty invasive surgery, but it's tough recovery from that one. And then getting back, the tears in the labrums were a little bit different. They weren't as tough of a recovery, but it's more of a nagging, just ongoing type of thing. And you don't realize how much you use those. You don't realize how much you use your hips, honestly, until you have something like that done, where everything's through the hips, and it's just it's tough getting over, tough getting through. But like I said, it led to a lot of good things. I wouldn't have started coaching as young as I did. I wouldn't have met my wife at Rutgers probably, and learned a lot of the things that I did there and through coaching versus having a playing career and going through the normal path, so.
What would you say with the hips ordeal? What was the number one lesson that you learned?
Oh man. It was a lot of mental toughness, honestly. I knew I thought I was a mentally tough kid. I thought I was a physically tough kid at the time. But I had not gone through anything like that before, where it's like, I couldn't move the day after, a couple days after, like they're trying to get me to do light physical therapy right after. It's like, I couldn't move my leg, it's like pushing yourself to know that, even just moving it an inch or two right now, it's going to make a big difference and fight through that pain. And I had never dealt with any pain like that before. And just knowing, what you have to do to get back to where you want to be. I wanted to get back playing, and I got back playing a little bit. And that definitely, it kept me driving the whole way through PT, a year-long PT or whatever it was. The amount of time, 3-4 days a week in a physical therapy office will drive you crazy a little bit, doing the same things over and over again. So just, keeping your head right and staying tough mentally. Pain's one thing, but the agony mentally of knowing, I want to be able to cut the same way. I want to be able to run the same way and lift the same way I was lifting before, and not being able to do it right away. It definitely pushes you to a different limit, a different level than you normally get pushed to on a day-to-day basis. So
Sure. So a lot of silver linings with the dough, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Might have met your wife, right?
Yeah, that's the biggest thing, honestly. It's I went out to Hofstra. I was only out there for a couple of weeks before I had to come back for more hip surgery and stuff like that, more rehab. But knew I didn't really love it out there. Long Island, I'm more of a Jersey guy, and ended up at Rutgers. Met her pretty quick, and I knew right away that it was all meant to go that way. So very fortunate.
What's her name?
Julia.
What does Julia do?
She just got a new job, actually. She's a practice administrator now at a cardiology office in East Brunswick. So she was at the hospital, Robert Wood Johnson Hospital before that, and then just took the jump to private practice, and she's running that practice pretty much, and it's a great experience for her. And so she's doing great.
Very good. Now tell us a little bit about your company. When did you start it? Scope of it, like what are you doing with it?
Yeah, so I guess going back a little bit, Iron Lacrosse which I got on now, I realized that was the first thing I started back in during all my time at home. Really, I was at community college rehabbing the hips. I was training a lot on my own, and I was getting back to healthy. I was lifting more, like I had been before the surgeries, running, just training in general. And there were a lot of kids in town kind of looking for extra training. So I just started training them just on the side. And then I was like, all right, I've always been a little bit entrepreneurial and wanting to kind of just do my own thing and run something. It's like, all right, I'll slap this name on it, came up with this name, and kind of mixed the strength training, performance training with the lacrosse training. And that's how we got Iron Lacrosse, and did that for a couple of years while I was home at community college and had some time on my hands outside of rehab and such. And then kind of got away from it while I was coaching in high school and through Rutgers in the last few years. And then left my last job, and I knew I wanted to get back to something like it. So this past late February, early March, really a week or two before COVID hit, I said, I'm starting this back up again. We're going to brand it Q4 Lacrosse. So that's what we're at now. And that's really based on the same model. Big Nick Saban, Bill Belichick fan, and some of these coaches, and really bought into the fourth quarter training concept of, pushing your body to the limits up front so that you got to focus on the fundamentals and the skills later on. And you're going to wear out your opponent, wear out whoever you're going against late in the game. And that really comes back to the training concept. And that's really what drew me to you and Newell Strength as well, was bringing that concept back to lacrosse training. So that's what Q4 is based all around. It's a lot of lacrosse training, but we're always doing some type of performance training with our guys, even if it's, just mixed into our lacrosse lessons. And then the guys who really want to work, obviously, we're bringing them to you for the real deal. So that's where we're at now. We're doing a lot of private lessons, a lot of small group stuff. Got our first summer camp next week for the youth kids. Looking to do some more high school stuff at the end of the summer this year. And we got kids from third grade right now through juniors in college, all training. So I think we're at about like 90, 95 guys training total between private lessons, small group stuff. This camp just brought in a handful of new people. So we're growing a little bit, which is nice. So that's really our model. And I think the athletic piece to it is lost on lacrosse a little bit. A lot of kids are just getting out and playing a ton, which is good. And there's more playing opportunities now than there ever were for me growing up. And that's definitely a positive, but kids are getting away from focusing on the skills, developing their skills, developing themselves as athletes, which is really what we're focused on. So that's really our model, and that's what we're looking to continue to grow and push, and just keep after that.
Awesome, man. It's good stuff, man. I'm happy to hear how well it's going, man. That's great. I remember when you were talking about it.
Yeah. Yeah, I think COVID it's a tough time, obviously, but for us at least, everybody lost their spring season, and now they're looking to get back. So we got people looking to hit the field again. We're fortunate enough to be able to work outside right now. So it's good to be back out there for sure. So it's nice.
Very happy to hear that.
Yeah.
So let's go over a couple more things before I give people a way to get in touch with you.
Mm-hmm.
What would you say 5 years from now? What's your vision? Like, what are you doing in 5 years, Gil?
Oh man, it's a good question. I want to keep growing Q4 for sure. I really believe in the model, and I think that's the biggest thing to me. Is I've worked with numerous club teams, numerous training companies before, and always believe in lacrosse, obviously, as a base concept. But doing your own thing, I know you can appreciate this. When you're running it and you have the vision and you want to follow that vision, it's a very powerful thing. And it's fun. Honestly, I'm having fun every day right now. Between being on the field with the kids and knowing that, this is our brand, this is our training, they're all going home and they're doing Q4 Lacrosse, and it's just a great feeling. It's definitely something I want to keep going into the future and keep growing, where we can reach more and more kids. And like I said, I'm a big Jersey guy, and I really want to grow this thing in New Jersey for the most part. I don't know if I have bigger aspirations outside of this area, in like the Lehigh Valley we're working in right now. I don't know if I want to be a global, nationwide company training everybody across the country. I think I'm more focused on making New Jersey lacrosse the best it can be, and creating the best athletes possible in our area. And that's broad vision is, how we're going to do that's a different story. I think I definitely want to keep growing the private lessons, get more coaches on board where we can reach more kids at once. So it's not just me going out all the time. And we do have some good coaches on staff right now. Got our Hunterdon Central group, head coach over there, boys and girls head coaches over there working with us. So we're in the Flemington area, Clinton area. I'm going up to Randolph back home and working with some kids up there. We're in the Hillsborough, Montgomery area, obviously, too. And really just kind of growing our reach in the state, touching more coaches, touching more players, helping programs develop, too. I think, youth programs and some other clubs are kind of out on their own and they struggle a little bit building things up. We want to be able to help grow the sport itself, too, and really reach more programs, get inner city as well, and really just help the game grow in spots that it's struggling to grow right now or it might just need a little bit of help growing right now. So that's really my mission. What I'm doing in 5 years, I'm not totally sure, but it's something around those things for sure.
Vision, man. It intrigues me, man. I want to get, we got our boys are 4 and 3.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I never played lacrosse. It wasn't really a big thing at that time, but I am intrigued by getting them involved sooner rather than later.
Yeah, for sure.
Man, how about hobbies? When you're not coaching,
mm-hmm.
not running the business, what do you like to do?
It's really it's family time for me, for the most part. We spend a lot of time with my wife's family, my family. We got a couple people, like my brother's down in South Carolina, and uncle out in Seattle, but uncle down in Florida. But outside of that, we got a lot of family right around here, and we spend a lot of quality time with them. And we do love the beach, love going down there. Family's got places in Ocean City, Maryland, so we get down there every time we can in the summertime. But outside of that, I like to golf a little bit. I haven't been in a while, but I like getting out there and hitting the course. But outside of that, man, I don't know. It's been lacrosse full go for me for quite some time. But outside of that, we spend as much time with friends and family as we can. So.
And last one, what's when I ask you about your favorite book, what comes to mind?
Favorite book? Read a lot of good ones lately. There's one in terms of coaching. I listened to it. I read it. I still listen to it on tape every now and then. It's the Education of a Coach. It's about Bill Belichick and his upbringing. And it's really not. There's some that are, more like self-help coaching books that are, it's teaching just very direct coaching concepts all the time, which are good. But that really dives back into like his childhood, his father. It really follows his father a lot, Steve Belichick. And I know some people out there might not like the Patriots, might not like Belichick, but I'm not a Patriots fan, but I respect the hell out of what he does and how he does it. And just I've tried duplicating what he does to some degree. Nick Saban as well. There's a couple good books on Saban. Those are my favorite thing. I could read those in a heartbeat, and really take those lessons and not try to be them. I learned that early on too. And I was reading Saban books at the time in my first real coaching job, and I was trying to be Nick Saban. And it's like, I'm not Nick Saban in a lot of ways. And it's like, he's a hard disciplinarian, and there's people out there that works for it, obviously works for him. And I learned I'm not the yeller. I'm not the guy who's going to really, scream at guys in their face and get on them. But there's other ways to get the same message across. So, and I've learned that from reading some different books between like Belichick does it totally different than Saban does it, but their success is, pretty much the same. It's parallel in what they do. And, reading about Parcells, it's a totally different way. Herb Brooks, I'm a big Herb Brooks fan, hockey coach. It's a good one on him, actually. Got the book over here. America's Coach. It's a good one. Good one on him. And he does it a totally different way, so if I had something to say to young coaches out there and young players out there, it's reading as many of those types of books as you can and pull the things that you think are going to work for you. And that's really what I've learned from these books is don't try to, read a Nick Saban book and be Nick Saban tomorrow, but pull out a couple things that say, okay, I can use this, or I can adapt this to who I am as a coach or as a player, as a leader, even whatever you're doing. and apply that to your daily life or your leadership principles. So I've learned that through reading for sure. But if I had to say favorite book, I'd say Education of a Coach, about Bill Belichick.
Right, man. Right on. I read that one. I've got to read the Herb Brooks one.
Yeah, it's a good one. There's a couple ones. Actually, the one I like best is The Inside Story of a Hockey Mastermind. Is
That Herb Brooks?
I'll grab that for you. So if you want to read this one, that's John Gilbert. I've read that one a couple times too. That's my favorite one on Herb Brooks. He does it totally different. He's different than Belichick and Saban and all those guys, and it's cool to say. It's cool to see a different sport too. It's a totally different game from football. Both of them are totally different from lacrosse, but the thing I like about lacrosse is it's pulls pieces from football, elements from the physicality and how you play, and pulls some of the finesse and also physicality from hockey, but more of the free-flowing concepts. A lot from basketball. I read a lot about Coach K and those guys in basketball. John Wooden, obviously, any coach was reading about John Wooden. There's things from every sport we can read about and learn from, and leadership in general. There's tons of good leadership books out there I'll read and pull into coaching and just Q4, all that stuff, just working with our kids. So.
Excellent, man.
Yeah.
Good stuff, Gil. So how do people get in touch with you? What's the best way if they want, to get their kids involved with your coaching and your training? How do they reach out to you?
Yeah, you can reach out either info@q4lacrosse.com is a good email for us. Go our website. There's a contact link on our website. So just send us a message right through that. It's q4lacrosse.com. Instagram, we got a lot of followers, a lot of people reaching out to us on Instagram for stuff. It's just at Q4Lacrosse. Those are the best ways, probably just reach out, and then we can talk about what we got coming up, talk about setting up lessons, small group stuff, all that type of stuff. So.
Excellent, man. Excellent. So I'll put that stuff in the show notes too.
Okay.
We'll have that as a reference. I'm just going to stop the recording here. So give me 1 second.
Okay.